Growing up just outside of Boston, Saratoga Racecourse existed in two places for me, on a map and in my mind. In two dimensions, maps are easy enough to read and follow. Memories are more complex, dynamic, mixtures of sights, sounds, thoughts, feelings, perceptions filtered through different forms of reality. Saratoga, this place hours from any big city, sorry Albany, you don't count, where Revolutionary War history, found hot springs noted for their alleged healing effects, and finally a racetrack where bookies used to set their odds on the grandstand concourse, has been a haven for players of all kinds for more than 300 years. During the summer of 1981, it was Saratoga's horses, not its history or healing waters, that were on my mind. This was the first year I can remember my father taking off with his good friend Mike to play the ponies in Saratoga, in what used to be called the August place to be. It was also the year he called me by payphone to ask, "What do you like in the Travers?" I was 13 years old, and the only thing I knew about the Travers Stakes, Saratoga's biggest race, was that I liked the jockey Eddie Maple, who was riding Willow Hour, a 25-to-1 shot given little chance against that year's Kentucky Derby winner, Pleasant Colony. If you know your Travers history, and I know at least this part, Willow Hour barely outlasted Pleasant Colony by the slimmest of noses on a rainy Saturday afternoon. My father returned home with $52 for me, which at 13 meant I was loaded and hooked on the horses and Saratoga. Some 30 years later, Saratoga is much the same, as I've got to know it over the course of the last 15 years, making at least an annual sojourn. Sadly, the summer I started making the 4-hour drive west is the year my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He and I would never make the trip together. Still, I now know why my father and thousands of horse racing fans make their yearly visits to Saratoga. It's a place where the highbrows of the cultured and couture set of the clubhouse mix, at least at the betting windows and in the paddock, with those of the more everyday variety. Many who sit in the plastic seats of the carousel staring at many big screen TVs, or on Saratoga's back lawn surrounded by 100-year-old trees, TV screens both bigger and small than the carousel, and of course, betting windows. Coolers full of beer and picnic tables claim the morning of each race day is where you'll likely find yours truly. Saratoga is also a place where the patrons must share their space with the equine athletes. When the thoroughbreds are called to the paddock, their walk includes passing through the track. Park rangers make sure the horse's path is cleared as grooms lead the four-legged athletes to the saddling area, also known as the paddock. Trainers, owners, and jockeys join the horses to converse about race strategy before they make their way onto the course, as anxious bettors look on in hopes of picking up some last-minute hints into the race's outcome. 10 minutes before the race, a bell rings calling for riders up, and trainers oblige by giving their small horse pilots a lift into the saddle. From here, it's off to the track for the post-parade, so last-minute bettors can get a look at the noble steeds with lead ponies as they pass by the grandstands in full view of the 25,000 or so in attendance. Just as distinctive as the more well-known Churchill Downs, Saratoga is marked by steeples along the grandstand and clubhouse. As intimate as Fenway Park, with the same long-standing wooden structure along with wooden, that is, uncomfortable seats, looking the same as it did 100 years ago. The only creature comforts are ceiling fans providing the faintest of breezes and television sets to watch the action up close as it unfolds in front of you. 9 times a day, 10 times on special occasions, the horses and fans repeat this routine. The horses walk over from the stables, get saddled, and make their way onto the track. The fans look the horses over, make some betting decisions, walk to the betting windows, wager, and then wait. The culmination of these events is the starting gate into which each horse is placed. There they wait for the bell and the call of the track announcer. Once the bell rings, gates open, and longtime announcer Tom Durkin calls off. Then the action proceeds. Whether on turf or dirt, the horses make their way to the clubhouse turn, down the back stretch, where most horses are stable when not running, into the turn for home, and down the quarter-mile stretch where the finish line stands. Once there, the winners and losers are determined, both the equine and human variety. After the races, the jockeys, like the horses, make their way through the crowd back to the jocks' room to change their silks, the uniform of the horses' owners, and to do it all over again. Some jockeys, as you can see, are friendly, even though they compete against one another for their daily pay. And of course, there's the autograph seekers, which most jockeys, like this one, are only too willing to oblige. The successful humans make their way to the windows to collect whatever winnings they receive from their prognostications. In equines head to the winner's circle where human connections, jockey, trainer, groom, and owner, and the horse, of course, are lauded. Like everything else at Saratoga, the winner's circle is accessible to anyone willing to wait to cheer humans and horses on. There is, of course, other stuff to do in Saratoga. The quaint town is filled with quaint shops, pubs, and restaurants, all awaiting the race day's end. Whether you're in the market for some fancy bling or just a beer, depending on your winnings or losings, regardless of where you travel in the downtown area, there are constant reminders of why most are here for all or part of the 7-week stretch of Saratoga racing. The horses, of course. Of course. Of course. Among the stables and sales rings are the arts and crafts homes that line the streets leading to the great race course. With many of these grand old homes rented out for the racing season, it's no surprise what's on TV just a few hundred feet from the track. Well, horse racing, of course. If you find yourself in the downtown area, there is the historic Saratoga Carousel that you can enjoy. A far more pedestrian ride, as you can see, more suitable for children, families, grandparents. This ride is far more predictable than the outcome at the racetrack. Some come for the history, a few still for the supposed healing waters, but most hit the track, a place where you step back in time, where people and horses are treated well no matter where they fall on the social or talent ladder. It's also a place where the unexpected is expected, where champions like Man of War and Secretariat finish behind long shots called Upset and Onion, a place where you're still able to take $2 and make them into 50 if you bet wisely. Finally, Saratoga is a place where memories are passed on from father to son, and then again from father to son.